Welcome to 2 cents short of a dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Mo Tiz. I'm Rue. Today, Mo, I want to talk about a fight. I think it's a big fight, but I think it's flying under the radar. It's Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez at 140 pounds. It's coming up real soon, but I don't think it's getting a lot of traction. I want to hear your thoughts on that fight. Is it a big fight? Who are you leaning towards?
I would say it's a relatively big fight. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a relatively big fight, especially when we're considering what's not a big fight. We just had so many big fights, especially this year, that maybe some people just glossing over it. But I think it's a big fight.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just had to kind of choose a fighter I'm leaning towards, it would be Josh Taylor.
Okay.
Opinion. How about you?
So I think it's a big fight. It's funny because we've had this discussion for years, and this is going back to when Tio was still at 135, and we were speculating him going up. And we were just always talking about, I thought Josh Taylor was the best guy at 140, and I think at the time maybe you thought Tio would beat him, but since then we've seen some things from Tio. But I do think it's a big fight. I am leaning towards Josh Taylor. I'm sticking to my guns. I can tell you why, or do you want to tell me why you've swayed to Josh Taylor over Teofimo Lopez?
So I guess just going back in time, right?
Yeah.
This is, and I think we had this conversation so long ago. This is even before Tio actually fought Loma. This is when Tio was having great performances against Nakatani, against Richard Comey, and I felt like he was one of the big stars coming out of 135 division. His punching power, he had good defensive IQ, and I felt like all around he was the better fighter in comparison to Josh Taylor, who was rising through the ranks. And I felt as though if he moved up, especially after the Lomachenko fight, I felt like he could have definitely gave Josh Taylor a run for his money. I was never big on Josh Taylor, and this is before his fight with Catterall, which I don't want to get into that, right? But nevertheless, as time progressed, of course, with the Kambosos fight, especially at 140 with Sandor Martin, I was not impressed. And Sandor Martin, a southpaw, similar to Josh Taylor, I seen some holes in Teal's game, and I'm like, yeah, Josh Taylor is definitely going to expose that. And I think Teofimo's not the fighter he once was. I think he fell off a cliff, and he's not a terrible fighter, but I think mentally he's not fully there. And that's primarily the main reason as to why I'm leaning towards Josh Taylor, even though I'm not a big fan of Josh Taylor. I just know Josh Taylor is a good fighter. So
Yeah. The southpaw point is a very good point, and I think Josh Taylor is a better southpaw than Sandor Martin. And I know you mentioned some holes in T.O.'s game, and then one thing I know that T.O. does that I think can get him in trouble versus a southpaw especially is he likes to catch lead punches with his backhand, right? So imagine T.O. in the orthodox position, right? So he got his left in the front, and say you throw your jab at me, he likes to catch it, with this hand, right? But now, if I'm in orthodox fighting this way and I catch it with this hand, now I'm open for that left from the southpaw. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
and he gets caught a lot with the jab too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So he likes to do that. There's sometimes he uses his left hand to catch punches too. But I think his defense, he has the talent to be a good, maybe great defensive fighter, but I think he's lazy with it. His Philly shell is lazy. Like I said, him catching punches is inconsistent.
Right.
So I just think that's a major hole that Josh Taylor can take advantage of. I think Josh, when he kind of he'll frame you, right? In the sense of he'll clinch you and then be the first to punch. Almost the thing that Devin Haney accused Lomachenko of, where it's the ref's about to say break, but you get loose and then you start punching.
Right.
Josh is very good at that. I would assume that he has the reach advantage. And I do think he has something to prove coming back from that Jack Catterall loss. So, yeah, I mean, T.O. is athletic. I mean, he's a big puncher, a good counter puncher as well. I just think Josh is going to make it an uglier fight. It's not going to be a very clean fight. And I don't think T.O.'s inside game is the best. So with those things being said, I'm leaning towards Josh Taylor to win that fight. But would you see it going the distance? Would you see it being a possible stoppage? T.O.'s been down once to Kambosos, down to Sandor Martin once officially. Potentially could have been twice. Neither guys I think are considered big punchers. Not saying Josh is the biggest puncher, but I think he has some pop.
Yeah. I would say it goes the distance. 12. Josh Taylor, I think, wins unanimous. Now, in terms of those are great points that you've definitely pointed out, especially with just the Martin fight really identifies not only Teo's holes in his game, but it also identifies what Josh can capitalize on. Especially like you mentioned, when Martin dropped Teofimo, I believe it was a check hook, from the southpaw position, so it was with the right hand. And Josh Taylor does do a good job at times, like countering those opponents by backing up and throwing the right hook, or sometimes he'll just throw the left. And I can see Josh Taylor definitely hurting Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez is a tough fighter, and I think he'll just kind of find his way to kind of make it to the 12th round for sure. But Josh Taylor definitely is he can be a rugged fighter. He can fight in the inside really well, and I think Teofimo sometimes don't let his hands go nearly enough, and he relies a lot on his punching power. So I'm not sure. Of course, he may have the opportunity to hurt Josh Taylor, but I think Josh Taylor is going to be fully aware of that and try to capitalize early. So
Okay. Okay. You mentioned Josh Taylor's left hand. I remember the fight with Jose Ramirez for the undisputed at 140. I seen him land the left hand a lot, but one thing that he did that was kind of weird is he would put his lead foot on the inside of Jose. Something you're kind of taught not to do, but it's almost like it helped him kind of load up on those left hands on the inside. If you go back and watch that fight, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. I think that's a dangerous tactic with T.O. being a good counter puncher. You never want to give up that lead foot position just willingly. You know what I'm saying? But who knows? Josh might be some kind of hidden genius and figure something out that nobody else knows, But
yeah,
I just think T.O. and I'm gonna give my prediction in a second, but I think T.O. sometimes he leaps in with that left, he'll like lunge at you like a huge lunge, and sometimes he overcommits with the right and just like gives up his footing. And I think Josh is probably gonna counter him with something like straight. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be like a hook. I think it's gonna be a straight. It's gonna kind of get him off balance, and I think he's gonna like fluster him after that. Kind of get him and just work him. And I'm actually gonna go Josh Taylor by a late stoppage. I'll say maybe round 11.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because that's how he dropped Ramirez. He dropped Ramirez, and Ramirez like jumped in, and while Josh Taylor kind of jumped back and then threw the left straight, like,
Yeah. He's
dropped him.
he's like very good. I don't know. It's not like a full step. It's almost like a very short step
Like, just
back,
like,
and
yeah,
then he comes
yeah,
back forward.
yeah.
Yeah. He's very good at that. Very good at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're going in the pocket, punching and getting out, and by that time T.O.'s throwing missing is yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah. I think that I don't want to get too off course, but I was kind of thinking of where I could bring this up, but I think we could maybe spend a quick minute on it. They're fighting right now. Josh Taylor's no longer undisputed, right? But I thought that maybe the powers that may be would want T.O. to win this fight because of the history with Devin Haney. Devin Haney would move up and fight T.O., but he recently had some dialogue with Regis. And that kind of caught me off guard because that's a fight that I wasn't thinking about. And I don't want to put too much stock into it, but just very, very briefly, if he moves up from 135 to go to fight the 140 to fight Regis, that's a hard fight, right? It's not an easy fight by any means. But how do you feel if he does that and leave that Shakur and Tank fight behind him?
One, I would be disappointed by Devin Haney. The character that Devin Haney has portrayed up until this point was he's a throwback fighter. And if you know about throwback fighters, they handle their business at the division that they're at before they decide to move up or move down, right? Whenever they have close fights, they look to rematch it. You see it happen all the time. Roy Jones, Andre Ward, Kovalev. You even seen with Floyd, Castillo, and even Maidana, right? We see throwback fighters when it's a close match, they rematch it. So I'll be disappointed not only that he didn't rematch Lomachenko, right? That's one, but also you decided to kind of skip the Court Stevenson when you said out your own mouth that you are looking to make that fight happen at 135 pounds before you decide to move up, right? Get another really tough fight and then move up to 140. But I felt like he experienced how hot the kitchen was, finding an elite fighter, and he decided like, man, this is This may not be something I want to get into. I'd rather just, not lose my 4 belts. Let me just move up and let me somewhat try to prove myself again by beating a contender, right? Or someone who's a dangerous fighter at 140 pounds. Now, this goes into my second point. If he do decides to fight Regis Prograis, I think he's going to probably be biting off more than he can chew. To just move up and just take a fight immediately with Regis, who's a dog, I think that he's probably, and especially if his punching power does not necessarily translate, if his punching power is anywhere near what it is in the 135-pound division, if he moves up and fight Regis Prograis, I got Regis Prograis winning.
Nice. I think I agree. I would lean towards Regis as well. And the interesting thing is, like, it's like this big circle. Don't worry, stick with me, guys. I'm like building up this big circle. I know you guys wonder where I'm going with this, but let's say he were to move up, I would also lean towards Regis winning that fight, and I would lean towards Josh beating Tio. That sets up a nice little rematch between Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis. They had an amazing fight some years back.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be mad at seeing a rematch there, especially if they knock these guys off and kind of like meet each other at the top of the mountain again. I think that'd be a cool rematch.
Yeah, I think that would be a dope fight for sure.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't want to get too far off topic there. I know we could go on for days about that. But so who do you guys have winning this fight? Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez, how, stoppage, decision? Tell us your thoughts on the fight. Are you looking forward to it, or do you not really care about this fight with certain other fights that have been recently announced?
Right.
Yeah. So like, comment, subscribe. Let us know. Jump in the comment section.